The same thing will be continued here again. So now you just see that the functions are of two types, in which function with the parameters, the function without parameters. But in each one has got function with return type, function without return type. What is that function with return type and without return type? In case if you are interested to give back the values or the result to somebody to handle it later, then we are going to call them as return type. When no, I don't want to return any value, so that let the answer be from my side itself. I'm going to present it but not share it. Okay, so we call it as return without return type. The same thing is applicable for with the parameters, without the parameters. So literally we are going to write four types of functions here. Even in the user defined function, of course we say it as parameters and without parameters, but we can write it in four formats. We can write it in four formats. That's the one thing that we need to remember. Clear now? Okay, so that is now in that case, shall we go for the rules now again? Back to that. One sec. Okay, somebody. Sir, can you explain this again? Yes. Let me. It's so simple. I'll say you. For example, yeah, directly I'll take the syntax. Only then it can understand very easy for you people. So, for example, I said, yeah, we call it as syntax. Okay, what for it is a syntax? Syntax for defining the variable. Sorry, defining the function. How? As per the rule 1, we need to use a word called as DEF. We need to use a word called as DEF space. Okay, so when you are supposed to use a word definition, which is going to define the function name, I'll call it as function name. Okay, I did not pass anything. But I'm going to put the colon. Okay, so this is a one line that we need to remember. And please don't consider this red underlines here. Okay, so this is something like an application preview. So don't consider the red underline. Yeah, so I have took DEF and function underscore name. Okay, so hopefully that let me disable this spelling check. Yes, okay. So I think people can easily, it is visible for you people, right? Okay. I'll increase the size still more better for you. Okay. So as I said, DEF function name with the colon. As the thing is, I had just opened and closed the parenthesis, which means that no parameters. It is going to be considered as function without parameters. The second method is what exactly? Fine. In this, I'm going to write something, a statement, call them as, and you know what? The fourth point was there that is critically important for indentation. There is a standard in Python that we always use an indentation of 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Or fixed it 1 so that it has to be followed every time. Why we need to follow the indentation in Python? Because we are not looking forward with any curly braces. The curly braces are the one which is going to be most important in other programming languages. When it comes to Python, here the curly braces is replaced with the indentation. So that spaces, the beginning spaces are to be provided compulsorily. Fine. So that one. Yes, after the taking the indentation, now we call it as statements. Now I'll call statement 2. So keep on, you say that statement 3, something, as you can write n number of statements with the same space of indentations. Then it will be considered that all these line belongs to the function. Saying you again, when you are going to write a single statement or multiple statements, not a problem, but make sure that all the statements are following the same indentation procedure. When it is being followed with the same indentation procedures, it will consider that all these statements belongs to that particular function. And finally, if you want to return something, you have to say return VAL or VAR, variable, or none. Understand now? So you can provide any one among this. Understand? Okay. You can provide any one. None in the sense, sorry, I don't want to provide anything. Variable in the sense, I can provide a variable. Value in the sense, directly I can provide a value. So, okay. So this is one thing that we need to understand. Fine. So this is how exactly we are going to define the function. Then you can ask me, sir, then how to test the function here? So the testing will be something like this. I'll call this as, not here, I'll take it to the next line called as, calling function. Okay. How do I call the function? So simple. Function underscore name. That's it. If you call these line, this executes the entire block. That's all it is. This is what called as, it's the flow of execution. The flow of execution. Clear now? So what? When you are going to call this function, throughout the program model, it checks whether on this name is there any function that is defined. If so, then come on, execute the statements. Okay, sorry, come on, execute that function. That function, no matter has how many statements has it in it has. So it will execute it for sure. Okay, that is one. Now I'll just make it out. This is something called function with what? Okay, a question for you. The method what I have written, this method belongs to which statement among these four?
Functions without parameters and with return type, sir.
Function without parameters with return type. Good one. Because our focus is on what? When we see the parameter, no parameters. When we see the return, we have a return. So on that basis, function without parameters with return type. It is a third choice. It's a third choice what we have written it so. Okay. But it's all up to you. As per your logic, whichever the method you want, you can able to write it so. Okay. So that is what it is. Clear? Any doubts? Till now, whatever we discussed. Is there any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. And even I want the response from other students too, so that it will be easy for me to understand your mind. Okay. Then fine. Yeah. So now let me get back to the same. Who's that? Somebody has raised. Fine. Yes, I was explaining about the rules, the same thing. Okay, now let's continue to the next. As I said, types of function, it's a built-in and user-defined function in this. Now, yeah, the function syntax is what? Right now, actually, we tried it. That's the same. So, the definition, def, function name, parameters. We will try even with the parameters also. We'll go through that things. Fine. So, parameters. In this, we are going to use a word called as function suite. Means it is a block. It can cover with a number of statements and return an expression. An expression, what I said, it can be a value or it can be a variable or it can be a none. Okay, so this is a function syntax. Shall we try one example?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we shall go with an example once. I'll see that things. So yeah, now is the screen visible for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now we shall go to the concept of what I said that we want to test one function. Okay, so now when I want to define a function, as I said, def space, we are going to use something called as test function underscore function. Okay, so no parameters. Now I'm going to close this one. Sorry, I'm going to call with a colon and then press enter. See, it has taken the indentation so that it has took a space so that the things, whatever we are writing, it is belongs to that particular block. Now I'm going to say print hello, welcome to Python. Okay, so now we just close it. And now I'll call it as ended. Okay, now let me press one more enter. So then I'm supposed to see this angular brackets. Okay, this angular bracket represents that the previous set of lines, what you have written, they are error free. They are error free. In case if any mistakes were there in the logic, then ultimately they could have given an error. Okay, so now this is the one which we have defined it. Then how to test it? Simple, call the name test underscore function and then press enter. Okay, see, hello, welcome to Python. This is what it has been printed. And then later, name, none is not defined. Yes, let's understand. The none is not a keyword, right? None is not a keyword, right? Okay, so let's do one thing. We will skip the statement. For example, I'll copy the same line and I'm going to paste it here and then press enter and then one more enter for this. So this says that without any return means when I'm not returning anything, I can return something like this. Or if you want to return something, you can put it as a 02. You can put it as 02. See, for example, now test underscore function just to close. Now we did not return with any sort of an error. Say that because ultimately the last time it has considered the none as an undefined word. Okay, so this is one example for what? Function without parameters, without return statement. Without parameters, without a return statement. Okay, so then, so shall we write a one more type of function so that I'm going to pass some content in it. I want to pass some content in it. Yes, we can do that. In that case, we will write the one more function called as test function with an open bracket saying that name. I'm going to consider it as name with the colon. Sorry, with the colon. Where I'm going to, okay, invalid syntax. Sorry. What was the mistake?
Sir, you didn't put DEF, sir.
Exactly. Yes. So we need to define, right? So when we have to define it, DEF space test function with the name. Okay, and there's a colon, sorry, colon, enter. Yes, now it has started taking things here. So now I'll say print in this, I'll say it as inverted commas, hello. Okay, so the next I'm going to take it as name. Okay, so next I'm going to take it as let me say, I'll call it as again what, Python. Okay, so this is a statement, and then again I'm going to enter. Let me enter the next line. So the first method, the second method. So in this, now let's try test underscore function with Vikas. Let's take this one and then press enter. This is how we get the statement. So just observe, I'll copy both the statements so that it will be helpful for you to cross-refer. Copy this, and then I'm going to put that into one more screen. I'm going to take it there. This is a screen in which so I think you are about to see the screen. So what will happen when we use return? Nothing. I'll take an example for that too. Don't worry. So if you can just look at it, I was actually calling a statement something like this. What it is, test underscore function. Okay. So for the, if I call this to statement,
Okay.
hello.
கொஞ்சம் கூட
What's the disturbance, please? No?
சத்தியமா நம்ம வச்சு தராது.
Okay. So this is one certain thing. Just I'm trying to give clarity here. When we are going to take take without parameters, so the message will be something this one. But when we are going to take a parameter, then the information will be dynamic. The information will be dynamic. So whoever the person name you're going to pass, based on that, the statement you're supposed to get it. But don't think that the functions are so simple, it can be used only for this type of purpose. No, you can write a very much dynamic logics. Just I'm trying to take a much simplest example to convince you how exactly the function is going to work. But now when we are going to take some real-time example, then you'll get some idea for that. Okay, I'll just give some further explanations for this. Okay, so this is one concept for with return type, without return type, with return type, without with parameter, without parameter. But now we'll go up with the next another few methods, so in which we call them as how to use a return types and how the return values can be handled. Okay, so that I'll just take out one by one now. Yes, sir. So this was one, the function syntax, and then, yeah, creating the user defined function. That's what I just gave the example for you people right now. Okay, so example is that definition, my function without parameters. Okay, this was the one. Now, coming to this, there I have taken some example, arguments and parameters. Okay, about that, the information I'm just providing here. Okay, so what is that argument? The argument is something that which we are going to provide a variable. Means here the f name, if you can observe, the previously what I shown you on the execution screen as well as to some type of an interface. Okay, the same. What is that f name here? We call it as a first name or whatever. I'm not speaking about the meaning, but what exactly the f name inside the parenthesis considered as? This is considered to be as a variable. This is considered to be as what? A variable. And that variable can be used to store any type of data, any type of data. But if you wanted to try to store that into particular type of data, then you have to use the typecasting concept. We have to use a typecasting concept. And how? Let me show you that one by one here. But first one, what we have to understand is, see, when we are trying to give a message, here the same function is called thrice. The same function is called thrice. When the function is called thrice with the different names, then ultimately the statement which is going to print common, but with the different names only. Hope you understand. So whatever we are going to write it in between the quotes, so that is a constant text. But what is written in between the plus signs, so that is considered to be as a variable, which is going to have a variant in information, which is going to have variant in information. That's the one thing we need to understand about function. So arguments, but the arguments does not end over here itself. The arguments can be written, given in multiple types, so that's we will be keep discussing one by one with an examples. But first I'll try to complete the overview of this one, and then let's go each one as an example here. Okay, so that now see, as I said about arguments, can I give only one arguments or multiple arguments? Is a question.
Sir, multiple, sir.
Multiple, yeah, you can give n number of arguments. But I felt something most smartest programming standard in Python is that sometimes we need to give an arguments which will be in more in numbers. But that is going to look very odd in other programming languages. For example, see, I'll say one. I want to create with one parameter, okay, one variable, two parameters, first variable, comma, second variable, three parameters, first comma, second comma, third, so on. But when we wanted to give some 10 parameters or 15 parameters, I don't know, the situation might arise. In that cases, when we write a program, that looks very odd, that how, and writing a statement, something a most illiterated way. Okay, but here we have some type of augmented arguments. What is this augmented arguments? In a sense, we can give a continued, I mean, I'm going to write a single variable declaration itself, but I can store n number of values or n number of variations or parameters in that. So how is that? Let's see one by one. But first, in an argument, don't forget We need not to provide only single parameter. You can give multiple parameters with differentiated by comma. Just what? It should be separated by comma. As many you want, you can able to provide. That's the first thing about an arguments. This is common, but what's special? The special thing is the next one, which we call default parameter. Really, it's something called as a very beautiful one. Why so? See, now when a user gives a value, you take his value. When the user don't give the value, then take some default value. This facility, we don't find it in any other programming language. Hope you understand. Let me say you again. See, I'm going to give two parameters. I will call it as okay, one with a name, the other with is something called as a good morning as a wish. Okay. Now I'll give two choices for you. What? The message. You can write your own message. Say, take a name, write your own message. When you give a message, it will be printed the same as what? Hello, so-and-so person. And what is the message you have given, you can provide it there. In case you gave the name, but you did not give any message, don't worry. I have got one default message. That default message will be printed. That is what we called default parameter. That's what we call default parameter. What is that? If we test it itself, we'll get to know. Else it will be still in confusion. Okay. But let me explain you the syntax over here. What is that? Function name, as usual, argument1 is equals to default value, comma, argument2 is equals to default value. What is this default value? Okay. As I said, we are going to write one statement. For this, it's going to help you out for clearly. Okay. Now I'll take the screen for back to that. It will be shown to you like this. What is that? I guess this is a screen. Okay, enough. I'll take it to the next. So here, okay, hash function with default values. Okay, for this, I'll say def function name. You can choose any name here. I'm going to use, or I'll call it as greeting. Okay, what's the greeting? Let me take name. Let me take name. Okay, I will call as greet. Okay, I will call it as greet. What is this greet? These are the two parameters. These are the two parameters I'm providing. Name is one variable, greet is another variable. Okay, now what will I do is, for this I'm going to say it as print, say hello. Okay, so plus I'll call it as name plus, I'll put one more space, plus again greet. Okay, once after doing this, what happens, you know, it is compulsory. It is compulsory that we want to call as greeting with ish. Okay, comma you. Okay, I provided this. I have provided this. Okay, now what does this makes a sense? It means that what is that? So no need to close the double quotes to greet. No, see, I'll say, see here, hello is a one statement that is being combined with the name. The name is combined with again one more space. The space is combined with the greet. Okay, so the quotes what you have provided is not for the greet. The quotes what you have provided is the space in between. Space in between the name and greet. Means if you do it so, the output will be something like this. Hello, Mahesh, space. So this is how the statement will be. Why so? The hello is a one which is constant. Mahesh is a one which is a variable, and having one more space in between, and then coming up with the last how are you is a again what? Variable. So two constants and two variables are the one which we have provided here. But this is not a one which we wanted to take care about this concept. What is the default values? Okay. So let me say now, this is not an example for default value. The example for the default value in the sense is right now, this is first method. Okay. This is the first method. Now we shall try the second method here. Okay. What is the second method? In the second method, I am going to give, I'm not going to provide any message. I am not going to provide any message. If I don't provide any message, what will be in the next line? The next line will be error. The next line will be the error. Why it will be an error? Because you have defined a function with the two parameters. Because you have defined a function with the two parameters. But what did you do? You have given only one parameter. You have given only one parameter. But then it is going to return an error. Even though if I give one parameter that should execute, then in that cases, we will implement the concept of default values. Okay, now what is this default value? Let me say you now. For example, the same function, what will I do is I'm going to say it as something like this. Greet is equals to okay, see. Now, what did I do? I made a simple thing. So the greet, I have given one default message. The default is one. This is a default message. Don't forget, the good morning is the default message. Means now, if you execute this line, you are not going to get an error. Instead, you are going to get something like this. Not how are you, you're going to get something as what? This is. So we turned our program to return an error with the default message. We turned our program, which was returning an error, into default message. So that is a concept of default statement. So if you give a parameter, one parameter, the next parameter will come up with a default value. If you provide both the things, then it is going to give you the message what it has given for the second statement. Okay, so this is a difference between the default values concept. So I will say now I'll consider this as the first statement, and this is considered to be as second statement. Clear now? Second statement is also having the parameter. The first statement is also having the parameter, but the first statement has only single parameter, but the second one has two parameters. So the second parameter, what is provided? That is user defined message. When the first one, as we did not provide anything, so then default messages has been printed. So that is a concept of default values in or default parameters in functions. Understand? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall we try this for an execution? I'll copy this and then go to the console. Okay, so now let's say greetings. Enter. What was that? Oh, sorry. The function name is greeting. I took it as greetings. Greeting. Yes, we got a default message. Next. Manoj, comma. Okay. So the default message is replaced with the user defined message. User defined message. So this is the second method of arguments. The first argument is what? Just giving an argument such that it can be calculated or it can be passed. The second method of argument is what? Default arguments. Then how about other set of arguments are there? Yes, we have another few set of arguments are there. So that we'll be looking after in the next upcoming sessions. Next upcoming sessions. What is that? Yes, sir. Now, as I said, there are some type of arguments are there in which one is a default argument, another one is a multiple parameters. The next one is some we call this a calculative arguments. We have it, and as well. One sec. Sir, how to work without writing DEF greeting? Sir, how it works without writing DEF greeting? I didn't get you. I mean, sorry, the DEF greeting is a one which we have created once. Okay, which we have created once. But later, what are the functions we have defined it here? So just we are calling it. See, always don't forget we have two statements. One, calling function. Another one is called function. Calling, called. Called is the one which is created using DEF. Okay. So what is calling function? The calling function is a one which is already defined. I'm calling it with a name. So when we are calling with a name, we need not to use DEF. When we are creating the function, we need to use a DEF. That is. Okay. So that's a difference. Okay, that is. I was saying about this different types of argument, right? Okay, there is something called as a positional arguments. We have it. Okay, so I said one more, the augmented arguments. So even that is a type of an arguments we have it. So that is what we have to see. And later we have the one more concept that is called a scope of variables. Means the variables what we are going to use, and that variables like what is a scope, whether do we need to can we access it only inside or can we access it outside, and how long we can able to access it. All these things we call them as a scope of variables. Okay, so today in an example we have taken only some text for the functions, but in the next session we will be going up with some type of a calculative methods. We will take some lengthy concepts so that not only understanding the syntax, even let's understand the logics too. Okay, so initially my trial is what? Only to convince you what is the syntax of the function, how do actually they work. Okay, but this is not sufficient enough to go through the subject. When we wanted to get into it, we need to replace the just text statement or just a printing statements with the business logics, and that business logics will be seeing up with the next upcoming sessions with the different methodologies. Okay, so I guess I just gave clarity for you people for today. So in the next session, we'll continue. And in the meantime, yeah, I have got some collective set of PDFs. So that I'm going to share it into a group. If I'm into only one group and in some other groups, I'm going to share it to the admins. So they are going to just distribute that complete soft copies to you peoples. And you can take all those things as your reference. Okay. So, and one thing, I'm not saying that you guys have to take up with only one reference. Take it to the multiple references, so it will be helpful for you people, sir. And possibly I'm going to give you some complete package of the content with you. And right now my collections, what is with it is with about Python. The next I'm going to create something collections with the networks and then database. So I'm going to make a 3 packages on that. I'm going to distribute it. And in the meantime, I'm thinking forward that like whatever the concept we are trying to discuss, right? So there should be some sort of a response from you peoples. So what I'm planning is I'm trying to create one Google form for you peoples, and I'm going to share the link to everybody of you peoples, and then you people answer them from the Google form, and I'm going to see the responses there. Okay. So this is what just I thought it. But of course, initially nothing is mandatory. It will be helpful for you people to grasp the content, whatever we have discussed in the classroom, so that it will be most helpful for you peoples. I guess this works. Sir, this chapter is there in NCERT book? No. This is one point you have to say, be clear about it. In the NCERT material, this concept is not available. So that is why I have collected with the different sources, and I'm preparing a material for you people. So then I'm going to share it to you. Okay. So actually one thing is the previous content right now, what is important, so that I have covered on the things, but what is need to be covered of the previous concepts, so still I did not prepare it. That's why I'm trying to delay the things to share it to you. That's all. If that could have been done, I could have shared it in the just in the online itself. But still, don't worry. In just today or by tomorrow, all your documents are going to get raised to you. Okay, fine then. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, then fine then. Okay. See you in the next class. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.